Good morning, wonderful owners of Myth. My name's Tom Mason, and I'm the Miniatures Director for MegaCon Games. And whether you're a Kickstarter backer or have recently purchased Myth from a friendly local game store, I am here today to show you how to get your miniatures into fighting shape. Whenever these figures are shipped to us, before they even get to you, the way they come to us is in big boxes of around 200 figures, and those boxes are packed. This leads to a common occurrence in all board games with plastic miniatures. Figures get bent. Typically, it's just small weapons and thin parts, like this staff here. But in some cases, you'll have a figure that actually bends over from the prolonged pressure, as you can see here. And today, I'm going to show you how to fix these easily in just a couple seconds per figure. So, let's get started. So here's what you need to get started. You should have some paper towels or regular towels. This is so that you don't get water all over your work area, messing up your tables and whatnot. You need two bowls. One we're going to fill with water and ice to make ice water. The other will be hot water that will microwave. You don't need to take it quite to boiling, but it'll be very hot, so you still need to be extremely careful. Last thing you'll need is a pair of pliers. This is in case you need to adjust part of the miniature in the hot water. You do not want to put your fingers in there, so if you have to reach inside the hot water, you need to do so with a pair of pliers so you don't burn yourself. Alright, now that we have our bowl of hot water and our bowl of ice water, it's time to fix one of the figures. So I'm going to start here with probably the most common occurrence of any figure would be a small weapon, thin part like this. It's very easy. And basically we'll use the same principles on all the figures we're going to fix today. You want to hold the miniature, the part that needs to be bent. You don't need to submerge the whole piece, but the part up to the area that needs to be bent back. And you'll notice as it sits in the hot water, it actually starts to bend back into correct shape. You just hold it here for a few seconds. Probably 10 is plenty. And as you can see here, it's actually just about corrected itself. Sometimes you'll have to move it with your finger. And this is where I was saying you can use pliers if you have to do it under the water, but typically you want to just get it nice and warm, pull it out, adjust it to where you want it to be with your hand, then submerge it into the ice water. And the ice water will bring it back to room temperature or colder immediately. As you can see, it's actually hard for me to bend it now a little bit. But now it's perfectly straight. This one's going to be a little more difficult, but not much. Mostly because it's a larger piece. And this is where you might have, depending on the size of your piece, you might have to get a larger bowl. The size I have, these are typical cereal bowls. They should work fine. But all right, so let's start with his feet. We dip it in, and this is one where it's not bending back automatically on its own. But that's okay. We just let it heat up, and I will position it back by hand and dip it in the ice water. There you go. Standing up straight. Now let's fix the wing. This wing is basically correct. This one is a little flat. It kind of looks interesting, but you might want it to be a little more symmetrical. So we'll submerge this wing. 5 to 10 seconds is plenty if your water's hot enough. We bend it into place. Dip it in the water. Yeah, the wings might be a little large for this bowl because I kind of wanted to get the ice water down to that part, but I couldn't quite reach. But it's close enough. So might need a little bit more tweaking. Let's try it one more time. Because if you can't submerge the whole piece in ice water, that's why it bent back the way it was before. It's because when I pressed it in there to get it into the ice water part, it actually bent it back before it could cool off. So Let's go on a different angle. There we go. So we'll set him aside. The last one that I'll show you as far as fixing with heat is bones. This one can be tricky because he's got a lot of small little parts. The feet of the skeletons, they're kind of tiny. There's one guy's legs kind of kicked up under him. These guys have popped off. So we're going to bend these back into place, and then I'm going to show you how to attach it here permanently so it won't pop off anymore. So again, as normal, we start by dipping it in the base, or in the hot water. And this one's going to be a little tricky. It's a little warm. We want to bend back as much as possible, and it's probably a good idea to do this in stages. So I'll do that first, getting the other side of the base tab area situated. So, oh, there we go. We know that's in good shape now. Now this is going to be a little tricky. We've got these two legs that are kind of skipping on each other. So I'm going to dip it again, but now that we've got this in place, I'm hoping it will stay put and I'll be able to just quickly adjust this. And actually, I'm going to try and do it with the pliers while it's under the hot water. All right. And they're actually popping into place on their own a bit, which is good. Okay, I'm going to put this base tab in there. Whoops. It's very soft now. Okay. I'm going to pull it out. I'm going to be careful because it's hot. We'll dip it back in. There you go. He's all fixed. Legs are all planted on the base like they should be. And after I clean up this, I'll show you how to glue figure to the stand. Once you're finished bending the figure back into place, just lay out some dry paper towels or a towel, and you can set them on here to air dry. Probably take a day. It might be good to, it's a good idea to dab off any excess just to help speed along the process. But you want to make sure these dry completely if you plan on painting them, because obviously if there's any water in some of the cracks in detail, that will impair the primer or paint from sticking to the figure, and that would not be good. Sometimes the pressures placed on the figures during shipping can force the areas that were glued together to actually pop apart. Many cases it'll be on the base, as you see on this figure where it's just popped off its base. Sometimes it might be an arm. All this is very easily fixed though with just a little bit of super glue. So, like I just said, what you need for this is some super glue. This is what I like to use, Loctite super glue. Make sure you don't use any plastic glue. That will not work on this plastic material. That stuff is meant to partially melt styrene, and that's not what this is. So, just regular old super glue. You just take your figure and put a small bead. In this case, for a miniature base, you put a small bead along the line of the tab here. If you want, you can put a little bit on the feet or whatever under part will touch the base, just to give it a little extra hold. Do it on both sides. Put a little more there. Take our base, place it where you'd like it to be. There you go. After a few seconds or a minute, depending on your glue, it'll be glued in place, ready to go, and you get to place them in.